Hi, my name is Jenny Gentes, and this is my life book. Might be a little bit longer because I might be a little bit older than some of you, but this is my story. I am from Bloomington, Illinois, and born and raised. From middle school on, I will talk about today. And some significant events in my life and just how I got to where I am right now. In middle school, I was a typical middle schooler from kind of a poor background, I would guess. You could call me a city kid, but it's Bloomington, Illinois. It's not like Chicago or anything. So, but I was kind of born in the city more than country, I guess. We lived by the railroad tracks and in kind of a really small house with one bathroom, and there were six in my family. In middle school, I loved to play basketball and volleyball, and I was very active, and we played outside all the time. A significant event that happened to me, though, I had pericardial effusion, which basically means my heart was drowning. It was being suffocated by fluids. And doctors still don't know if it was caused by a strep virus or how it happened, but I was dying, and I ended up going to the doctor finally after my back and shoulder were hurting a lot. I started to get a fever, and by the time my mom got me to the doctor, it was almost it was 107, I think, at the doctor's office. So significant fever. They rushed me to the ER, and they couldn't do anything here, so they had to actually put me in a Learjet and take me to Chicago Children's Hospital. My mom went with me, and there they performed surgery and saved my life. And I was there for about 10 days, and my mom stayed with me the whole time, and my dad stayed back home and worked and with the other three kids. And this was very significant in my life because I felt the support of my friends back in school. They all wrote to me and made me cards, of course, to make me feel better. But also my family was very supportive at the time, and they were being supportive as well. I remember getting home. This was in the winter before Christmas, and as I was recuperating at home, it was close to Christmas time, and I remember the mission coming to our door, and they had garbage bags, one for each one of us kids, filled with toys and presents for Christmas, and they had a complete Christmas dinner for us. And this was a significant moment that I'll talk about later on of just the warmth and the hospitality, I guess, of our community taking care of us. So that was very significant in my life. Growing up a little bit more, I went to high school at Central Catholic High School, and there I got my first job as a freshman in high school. I was 14 years old, and I worked at Carl's Ice Cream. This was very important to me because I ended up working there for 6 years through the seasons. They were only open March through October, but every March and October for 6 years, I worked at Carl's Ice Cream. I actually became the manager after being there a year, which is pretty cool, being a manager at age 15. I would train others. I would supervise. I actually did the books and the balancing the books at the end of the night. So a lot of responsibility for a 15-year-old, but I enjoyed it so much. Still one of my favorite jobs ever. I got my first car at age 16. Of course, it was a 1979 Chrysler Cordoba. I paid $1,000 for it. I bought it from my older brother. Pretty sure I overpaid for it, but it was from my brother, so I guess it's okay. I guess I should mention I had an older sister and an older brother and a younger brother. My sister is 10 years older than me. My older brother is only 2 years older than me, but my younger brother is 7 years younger than me. So we have an age span of 17 years in my family. And that impacted me because I never really knew my sister very much growing up, because when I was 8, she was 18 and moving out of the house already. So it was my older brother and I pretty much hanging out with the neighborhood kids growing up. My younger brother, I felt more like a mom towards him because he was so young, and I was pretty much his babysitter all the time. So that was kind of growing up in a nutshell. So after high school, I began my college career. I went to Heartland Community College here in Bloomington, Illinois. I went there for about 6 months. until I decided to move to Mahomet, Illinois, and help my friend's parents open up a bakery. And it was Great Harvest Bread Company. There's our card right there. It was a healthy, if you're not familiar with it, actually it's really prominent in Kentucky, I think. But we opened it from the ground up. So it's a franchise, but we got to do all the work. And I actually painted a mural on the 15 by 15 oven, which is really cool because I got to showcase my artistic talent, I guess. But I was also the sweets baker there. So I'd wake up at 5:30 in the morning, go to work, bake some sweets, and then I would go to Parkland Community College there as well. Then I finally moved back home and I landed my first corporate job at Country Financial. And it was there that I knew I wanted to kind of just settle back down here in Bloomington. And I actually went on a blind date. I was talked into going on a blind date. And I went on it. Me and Matt was the guy's name. We hit it off really well. And 1 year later, ended up getting engaged. So it was a great blind date. And after we got engaged, though, I started having some health problems, and I learned that I had endometriosis. And when I underwent surgery for it, they told me how incredibly horrible the state that the endometriosis was in, or the level that it was in. And they told me that I would probably never have children. This hit Matt and I very hard because that was one of the things we talked about all the time after we got married. We wanted to have lots of children, a big family. So it really impacted us. And the doctor said if we wanted to have kids that we should try then, because I was on lots of medication and had just had several surgeries, and it was the best time to get pregnant if that was going to happen. So a couple months later, baby Jack was conceived, and our parents weren't very happy when we told them we were going to try to start getting pregnant because we weren't married yet. But it was something that we just felt that it was our time to do. So a funny story is that we weren't supposed to know that Jack was a boy. We decided we didn't want to find out, and they accidentally told us when we got our sonogram. So that's a funny story of finding that out. But after Jack was born, we got married, Matt and I, and we had a beautiful wedding, and we had a reception in his parents' backyard, which is now we own the property all around that, 8 acres of it. So it was a beautiful wedding. After we'd been married for a while, we had 2 more kids. So a family of 5, and a beautiful family. We have a very healthy family. We're very fortunate in that. Unfortunately, though, after having 3 children, I continued to have health problems and ended up having to have a hysterectomy. We wanted more children, but it wasn't going to be possible if I wanted to stay healthy. So I ended up having a hysterectomy, but I have been very healthy ever since. Also, in the meantime of having lots of children, I became a graphic designer at my work, which is very significant because I never finished college. And I just worked my way up, which I'm very proud of, and taught myself how to be a graphic designer. And I ended up starting to work for Illinois Farm Bureau. And I do this newspaper, or I design for this newspaper for Farm Week, and I'm the only designer for it. We reach 70,000 members all across Illinois, and it's a really significant part of my job there as well. Through work and having a family, and I started to grow in my faith a lot more. I am a Christian. I love Jesus, and I love to tell people about Jesus. And it was when I started volunteering at our old church when I realized that I kind of wanted to do a little bit more than just volunteer. So I started to learn that God was calling me into ministry, and this is so exciting for me. that I finally heard God's voice and heard Him calling and telling me what He really had in store for me in my life and the purpose for me. And it really solidified the purpose through a lot of the hardships that I went through as a child and a teenager and young adult as well. So through finding that, I decided to go back to school and finish college, and actually had to start over because my credits weren't so good and didn't count. So I started at Campbellsville University. Very happy there. I should graduate probably within, I have 2 more semesters left, I believe. And there I'm going for a ministry leadership and missions degree. So through life, though, some of the things that I like to do, that I enjoy to do, are gardening. I love to read. I love to go on walks and hang out with my family. Obviously, now my children are 10, 13, and 14, and they are the joys of my life, and that's how I spend most of my time. Other things I like to read are the Bible, of course. I love to do Bible studies, and Beth Moore is probably my favorite person to do a Bible study with. My faith is huge. Obviously, my family is huge in my life. I also I am part of a nonprofit organization called Continuing the Circle of Kindness. And we do, we help medical missions around the world, and we also help single moms who are finding their faith, coming back to their faith, or finding their faith for the first time, and trying to support their families and things like that. So we help out with that as well. Missions means a lot to me because, like I said at the beginning of this video, when I was sick and my family was helped out so much, it's just very important for me to be able to give back now. So one thing that my family does now, and for the past, I don't know, lots of years, every Thanksgiving and Christmas, we go to the mission and we help deliver meals to the less fortunate or shut-ins or the elderly or whoever is signed up and can't have a meal that holiday. We actually deliver meals to them. So it's just our way of kind of wanting to give back because that's just in our hearts to do. So that is a little bit about me in a nutshell, really quickly going through that, all 39 years from middle school on. So thank you very much for listening.